Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back to Star Trek model kits. We are looking at the Kronos One, the Klingon flagship. It's a variation on the Klingon Ktinga, which is a model kit that's been out for about 5 years. And it's a fantastic model kit. It is the most recent in the 1/350th scale line, and it's absolutely phenomenal engineering. But today's video is about this, the lighting kit for the Kronos One. Now this lighting kit will work not only on the newest version, the Kronos One, it will also work on the first version of the model kit, the Ktinga. I think it's the IKS Amar, as seen in Star Trek 1, but updated to also work in this version from Star Trek 6. So let's take a look at this lighting kit. All right, so a gorgeous picture of the Ktinga. And you can see this is a new feature on the Kronos One. The lit nacelle, both lit up front, a little light here, and this big glowing green grille. Bring them all to life with authentic lighting. Lighting kit for Klingon Ktinga or the Kronos One. Of course, what we have here is from the Undiscovered Country. Okay, same thing across the sides, just telling you it works on both kits. And then we get the back. Green nacelle LED, so that is what's different on this one. Blinking dorsal and ventral beacon. So yes, you do have blinking lights for this. Colored plastic to replace some of the parts from the kit. Compatible with both Klingon Ktinga and Kronos One. No solder required. I love it. I am thrilled to put away my soldering iron and my wires and my LEDs for this kit and just be able to work with a pre-made kit. Photo etch details and 38 LEDs. Now I do have my Ktinga here and ready for us because as we look through this new lighting kit, we may refer a lot to this model, which has the first version of the lighting kit in it. Now when we open up our lighting kit, first thing we see is we do have some clear plastic that's been redone in clear transparent red to help us with lighting the model. And let me turn on the lights for my Ktinga. Now one thing I'm going to point out, if you see these wire nuts in this build, those wire nuts are because I've actually modified this one. It doesn't have to run on the battery pack. I can use those wire nuts to undo the battery pack, and then I just run it through some wires down to the base stand. So these wire nuts and the kind of mess associated with them are something I did, so I don't always have to be on battery. Let me turn it on and close it up again. Now getting back to those clear red parts, we could take a look here and see where they're used on the model or see where most of them are used. I think I've got two mystery parts here. The first one, this big one, is this big red grill right here. That's done with that tinted red piece. Then the next red part, one of the red discs, is for this photon torpedo launcher. The next red disc actually provides these red windows that go around the bridge on here. So you put a clear disc that's red in between this top of the bridge and the bridge silo here, mask it off, and then light block it, then remove some of the masking to get those red lights. The last red lights are for back here. You get one disc to light this rear engine, or is it a rear torpedo launcher? Probably a rear torpedo launcher. And the two engines right here. This part is for those ring of lights around the bridge, your photon torpedo launchers, that red grill up front. These are the red pieces for the engine, and these two are a mystery for me. I am not sure where those go on the kit. At first I thought there might be a difference in the rear engine pieces, but it looks like the clear parts for those will be the same. Next we have our battery box and circuit board. This is of course the most important part of the build. This is what will control and power everything. So a lot of work goes into this little piece. Going back to my Ktinga, you can see you can lift up this rear deck, set it to the side. There's the battery pack. And there's the circuit board for the old version. The new version has a few more ports because you have to do a little bit more lighting for the nacelles, but the circuit board is just going to sit right back here with everything plugged into it, and you'll have a nice opening for the battery pack. So yes, that's right, this model is entirely swishable. Everything is closed up. It does not have to be plugged in. Of course, you can augment it like I did so that you can run wires if you choose to do so. Put it in with the front first, then click it down and back. And the great part about kind of this modular design is you can do all the lighting for the nacelle, you could do the lighting for the bulb, you can do the lighting for the neck, and leave them as sub-assemblies. And then when you attach them to the main hull, then you can put those wires into that circuit board at that time. Next, we have our pack of 38 LEDs, nicely bundled so they don't get tangled. And you should be able to see they are all labeled with what they are, so you can plug them into the right places on the circuit board. So you can see lots of things labeled H and B and C and E. And you can see on the circuit board, very well labeled. So as long as you're paying attention, you should be able to get everything connected properly. We'll look at these wires a little bit more as we start doing some of the building. Quick connectors to the circuit board. We have a couple different sizes of LEDs, so I believe some 3mm, some 5mm, and we have some square green LEDs. We're going to play with those today in this video. Next, we have photo-etch. Now, is this photo-etch exactly the same as it was last time? Yes, it is. That is exactly the same sheet. Now, a couple of the pieces here really provide you with a lot of help doing the lighting. So kind of for the bulb, you get these better window templates and cutouts. And then you get detail parts that are going to go across the front of the Ktinga or the Kronos One. So those photo etch strips go right across the front here, so you have some nice windows. Now, on this build, I am aiming to do this better. And what I'm going to do better is I'm going to drill much bigger holes behind that photo etch. I'm hoping if I can widen the holes here, I'll have a better range of what lights you can see at a time. You can see on this build, I didn't open up the windows as much, so you kind of have to be looking at the window straight on for it to be lit up. I do like the windows on this, but I'm planning on trying to do much better the next time around. And I think drilling out the holes behind the photo etch is going to be key to me having a better looking model this time. If you look at a lot of the detail back here, a lot of these are those little photo etch pieces, providing just some finer detail on things like these flags and the detail up against these frameworks. That's done with photo etch instead of the plastic pieces. If you're not doing the photo etch, you do get these parts in plastic. So you can see the flags here, flags here. You can see kind of this ladder structure, and these pieces. What we have are two sets of instructions. This one comes in the lighting kit, and it's for the lighting. This is for assembling the Kronos One, and it says, look for this symbol if the Kronos One lighting set by Polar Lights will be installed, not included. Wires must be placed within sub-assemblies as you build your model. Lights cannot be installed after the model has been completed. Refer to the wiring diagram included in the light set as you work. So as you're building, and today we're going to be looking at the nacelles. When you're working on it, as you do a step, it will stop you and say install light wire B and M in these assemblies. So it will stop you here, and it will tell you to put in those lights. Now we're looking at the lighting kit instructions, and the first thing, and I love this, is it will tell you what each piece is. So it'll tell you which one is C, which one is E, which one is G. So if you were to lose one of those tiny little labels, you can just kind of count up how many LEDs it is, what size they are, and you'll be able to tell if it's B or D. So that is a fantastic help. Now remember, this lighting kit is for both versions of the Ktinga. So on this page, we have all the Kronos One assemblies. You can tell by the more lights in the LED. You can also see, because down here in the corner, it says Kronos One. On the other side, it says Ktinga. You can see a little less lights in that nacelle, but it will lay out where each wire goes and how you route it to get to that circuit board. All right, there's nothing really to do except for to do it. So let's put some batteries in this box. Now for the nacelles, there are 4 LEDs labeled B and 2 labeled M. We're gonna need all of those for this build. All right, this is why reading instructions are important, because if you're doing the Kronos One version, you actually have a different wiring diagram to the circuit board than you do on the Ktinga. So for the Kronos One, you ignore what's on the circuit board and you go with what's on the instructions. So you can see here, there will be 4 places for wire B, and you get M and M instead of E and G. So I have all of those wires available. So this is an M, and I'm gonna plug it in to what's labeled G, going off those instructions. Here's my other M. This one gets plugged in to E. And then my B's go in where it says X and B and B. All right, let's turn it on. Hopefully we get some lights. We do, and we get 2 flashing ones. That's really nice. So 2 flashing lights for the nacelles. They are synced. We get 3 green LEDs for each nacelle. And then we get 2 kind of lit up LEDs for the back. And as expected, all LEDs do work. But of course, we do always test things before we start building them into the model. I'm doing 1 nacelle without any modifications at all. That's this one. And I'm doing one where I have just painted the insides in a glossy white. So as you can see, I'm just doing some Elmer's glue to temporarily hold these pieces in for our lighting today. So there's a clear part that kind of goes across the front of the nacelle. All right, and there's a very cool piece here that kind of has a little bit of lensing and light piping. So you can put an LED here, and it points out and it kind of bounces the light down to a point for the bottom of the nacelle. Another piece of light piping here in the back where you can put an LED here and point it out. And then we have 4 brackets for our green rectangular LEDs. And you can see we'll put those square ones along those brackets. Now this diagram makes it look like I'm pointing all of my LEDs in. So in and in, in, and in. I'm wondering if I should turn this one around so it points out towards this outside nacelle grill piece. So we're going to try it a couple ways and see what it looks like. And of course, we just have that big grill for the far side, just kind of being glued in with Elmer's glue. All right, so everything is held in with Elmer's glue right now because this is really just a work in progress. So we have a single LED pointing towards the back, the strobing LED pointed towards this little piece, and then we have our 4 green LEDs glued to those brackets. I'm really curious how strong the green will be, and will I need to do any clear green on this outside clear piece? And will it make a difference that we did some white on this nacelle to help bounce around a little bit light? Or can you just do it with the black? Before I close it up, we just gotta turn on the battery at least once, make sure, yep, looks like everything is working. All right, now let's close up these nacelles. Now, obviously, we're not gonna be able to really get an idea of what this fully looks like until it's fully assembled and painted, but hopefully you can just see a little bit of the detail on a kit like this and how well everything's going to fit together by the time we're done. That is a good looking model kit. Especially picture it kind of with these parts added on and painted. And of course, there's lots of other parts that are going to get put onto these nacelles by the time we're done. All right, closed up and held together with tape. And honestly, I'm sure some LED in here will kind of pop off since they're not held in too tightly. But let's turn this on. Oh, man, my first thought is that looks awesome. I do not think we will need to do any clear green paint at all. I think that that looks great just as it is. Honestly, I think there is a difference made from the white paint on the inside. The white paint is on this one, and yeah, I can see more hot spots here, 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 and here on this one. It looks more even on the first one, and it is brighter. It appears to be a little washed out maybe in the video, but it is a brighter glow on the one where we did white paint. But yeah, whether it's brighter or not, I think both of these brightnesses look good. But I think the one where we did white paint looks a lot more even. And imagine we're looking up at the ship. Very cool little strobing lights there. Those little LEDs are working perfectly. And they're pointing up at the ceiling right now, so there is bright lights shining down on them. Still very clear, bright strobes. And great light piping, driving those little LEDs on the back. I consider this to be a fantastic success. Now, these are not lit. There are lots, it's almost like a scale pattern that goes over these holes. You can see where those holes are. You get, looks like about a dozen little detail parts that will overlap each other and fill up here. So those won't really stay holes. But when we're looking at the nacelles, I'd be remiss if we didn't look at this. This is a very cool detail piece that will go on the outside of the nacelle like this. And this is just kind of an example of some of the things they added on to the model when they kind of dressed it up to become the Kronos One. So cool detailing on this side. And some very cool lighting for the nacelles. Man, I wish I could get the camera to see what it looks like in real life, because it's much more green than it looks. It looks kind of washed out a little bit on camera. But overall, hopefully you guys can see this is a very cool effect. Looking at it from the front, you can see the strobe does carry over to that front piece. We'll have to look to see if we can do a little bit of light blocking to prevent that. But once again, the one where we did the white paint on the inside looks much, much better. It looks brighter. It looks more even. The white paint is clearly carrying more light to the front of the nacelle than the one where we just left it in black. All right, if we look at my original Ktinga's nacelles, they look a little boring now, don't they? They had 5 little points of light along the nacelles, 1, 2, 3, and on the opposite side, 4 and 5 on the inside. And they were all driven by a single LED, kind of the same LED driving in the back here. But there was no forward strobe like there is on this one, and certainly not an awesome green glowing piece like this. It really is an emerald green in real life. It's not washed out at all like this. In real life, the color is closer to this one, but it's still a greener green than this. But this one is just brighter, and it's washing out a little bit on the camera. But overall, this is exciting. No soldering, no electrical tape, no shrink wrapping. It's a plug-and-play lighting system. I Elmer glued these in, and I have an awesome strobing effect and a very cool lit inside grille. I think from this I can clearly say paint the insides white. You will be happy with it, but it still looks good with no light blocking or paint on the inside. Now, one thing I do want to talk about just for a moment, and it's always a little awkward to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about this anyways. If you notice at the beginning of this video, there is a logo for CultTVMan Hobby Shop, which is a wonderful online retailer who I have used in the past. Without any incentivizing, I have used CultTVMan's Hobby Shop. And if you follow Sci-Fi Model Kits, they are one of the great places to follow for sources of news and upcoming kits, and a really reliable place to shop. Now, This YouTube channel is monetized, but I do not get any of that money. I do not get any money from this channel at all. Any of the ads on this channel purely go to the founder of allscaletrek.com forums, and they are used to pay the hosting costs for that forum. So I am out here making models, the paints, the lights, the processing it, the making of the video, the software to edit the video, which I do very minimal editing. All of that is my expense, and I'm happy to do it. But I want everybody to know that I am not cashing any sort of paycheck from the channel being monetized or from CultTVMan. All of that goes directly to the founder of allscaletrek.forums, and it's used exclusively to keep the lights on at allscaletrek.com. There is nobody making money off this. And as far as CultTVMan sponsoring any part of the forums, it is purely to keep that forum going. And Steve at CultTVMan, we thank you so much for everything you do for the hobby, for the industry, for your wonderful customer service, and for helping support that forum and keeping it going. So a big thank you to CultTVMan, and of course a big thank you to Round 2 and AMT and Polar Lights for sending me these review copies. I work on them because I love the hobby and I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad to see some support going towards allscaletrek.com forums. So a big thank you to CultTVMan. And in the descriptions from now on, we will be posting links to where you can buy some of these models from CultTVMan's hobby shop. And we're glad to do it because Steve is such a big part of the hobby and keeping sci-fi model kits going as a hobby and as an industry. And as far as the hobby goes, it's an exciting summer. We've done the Millennium Falcon, which is now out in the wild. It's on hobby store shelves all over the place. I've seen lots of builds being started with it. The new 13-inch TIE Fighter is about to come out. It's going to be coming out very soon. And the Kronos One is going to be hitting the shelves, and you can pre-order it at CultTVMan Hobby Shop. But this model kit is going to be in your hands very, very soon. The light kit and the model kit will be out very soon. The photo etch set will be a little bit later. I'm going to start my build. I'm going to do as much as I can. I'll probably get it built, lit, and assembled. I may do some painting, but I should have it ready for the photo etch once the photo etch comes in. So, of course, my final thank you is to everybody who follows the channel on YouTube or on Facebook. Thank you guys very much for following the channel. I'm going to do a lot of videos about this Kronos One, about this lighting kit, because it's an awesome, easy to do lighting kit with some really fantastic effects. So stay tuned to the channel for these videos. Thank you guys very much, and I'll be back soon.